Good evening, everyone. Today is January 4th, 2022. Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome. You are here at the Township of Ocean Annual Reorganization Meeting. What I'd like to do is read the statement of notice. Adequate notice of the meeting to be held by the Township of Ocean Board of Education on Tuesday, January 4th, 2022 at 8 p.m. has been provided in accordance with the requirements of Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975. Notice of the meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Administration Building, 163 Monmouth Road, Oakhurst, New Jersey, and also in the district schools transportation and on the district website. The calendar has not changed since July of 21. Notice of the meeting was transmitted to the Asbury Park Press and the New Coaster newspaper on July 21. Notice of the meeting was filed by the Municipal Clerk's Office of the Township of Ocean on July 21. At this time, I'd like to rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so I'm going down to 2.1 on the agenda. Mary Ann, could you put it for everybody to see? Okay, so the official results are listed, and the candidates that were successfully elected to the seat on the Board of Education were Ms. Gilman, Mrs. Pralamis, and Mr. McCarthy. So I'd like to begin by swearing in the newly elected board members. So why don't we start with you, Ms. Gilman? I've left the oath. Not going to all do
You're
it
going
together.
to do three at a time, or
you want to do all three together?
Yeah, you can do all three together.
Oh, really?
Insert name.
Oh,
here,
you don't do. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can do all three.
So if you want to, well, do you want to sit then for socially distant?
Yeah, why
don't we do that?
That's fine. Can we do it individually?
Okay. John, if you'd like to come up, maybe just sit over here so that.
Is the door open?
Yes.
Why?
Oh my God.
Air circulation.
I'll close it a little bit.
It's fine.
Give me a minute.
No worries.
To be on that
No worries.
Okay. So I state your name.
I, John
Are we doing it all
McCarthy.
together?
Yes.
Yes.
Do it all
Let's start
together.
again. I,
John
Denise
McCarthy,
Parlamis,
Do solemnly
solemnly
swear
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and
and
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God.
I,
John McCarthy,
do
solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education, and not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1, and not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJSA 18A/12-1, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God. I, John M. McCarthy, do solemnly swear that I have undergone a criminal history background investigation for the purpose of ensuring that I am not disqualified from membership due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJSA 18A/12-1, and the results are still pending. Sworn and subscribed before me this 4th day of January, School District Township of Ocean, County of Monmouth.
Congratulations, everybody. Once we're done with the meeting, if I could just get these back, that sign that you took the oath. Okay, so now that the new board's put together, let's get a roll call here. Ms. Beal.
Here.
Ms. Gilman. Here. Ms. Hayes. Here. Mr. McCarthy.
Here.
Mrs. McGovern.
Here.
Mr. Mohammed. Here. Ms. Tellerico.
Here.
Ms. Tortorella? Here. Mr. Weinstein?
Here.
We have a quorum. Okay. Next step. All right, so on the agenda, 2.4 is basically showing the re-election year for all the present board members of this newly elected board. Now I'd like to move to election of the board president. So I'd like to open the floor for nominations for president. You do not need a second, but I do need nominations.
I'd like to elect Mr.
Nominate.
Jeffrey,
You'd like to
nominate
nominate.
Mr. Jeffrey Weinstein. I'm sorry.
Second.
No second
No
necessary.
seconds necessary.
Well,
But I
thanks,
do-
thanks for the second anyway.
Very
Thanks.
exclamatory.
It's okay.
Okay, do we have any other nominations that want to be heard by the floor?
I make a motion to close nominations.
Well, first I want to make sure,
Oh.
can I please get consent by Mr. Weinstein that he is willing to take on this role? of
Accepting,
president?
Absolutely.
accepting the nomination.
He's
Absolutely,
accepting it.
accepting the
Okay,
nomination.
so now we could close. Who motioned to close?
I did.
Thank you.
I'm gonna.
And a second on that, please?
Second.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take a roll on that now. So for the president, Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
I'm going to abstain.
okay, Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Ms. Palamas,
Yes.
Ms. Tellerico,
Abstain.
Ms. Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein.
Yes,
Okay. We have the vote passes.
thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you all for your support.
He gets the gavel. So now, I would like to turn the meeting over to President Weinstein. for The rest of the meeting. Congratulations.
First, let me just say thank you all for your support, and there's a lot of great talent on our board, and I'm really looking forward to tapping into everybody's talents, and we're a board as a whole, so only good things are going to come from this. So thanks very much for the vote of confidence. So let me go to the election of the vice president. So at this time, I'd like to open it up, the floor for nominations for the board vice president.
I nominate Irene Gilman.
Okay, so that was.
Shawanda.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
I can't see who it.
That was my nomination too, so.
That's it.
You don't need a second, right?
You don't need a second, but you need consent. Or you see if anybody else wants to.
Well,
Any other nominations? Ms. Gilman, would you
Yes, I
like?
do give my consent. Thank you very much, Mr. Weinstein and board members.
Great. Okay, I think we could take a vote on
Yep,
this.
So we need a motion to close.
Motion to close.
I'm sorry, Alex, is that you?
Sure.
No, I'm sorry, who was it?
Either we both said it at the same time.
All right, so I'm gonna put both of you down if you don't mind.
Sure.
It's hard with the masks and I
Yeah.
apologize. All right, so now we're gonna take a call for the vice president. Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Gilman,
Yes,
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. McGovern,
Yes.
Ms. Palamas.
Yes.
Ms. Tellerico,
Yes.
Ms. Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein.
Yes,
Vote passes.
congratulations. Okay, let's go to 3.1, public comment regarding agenda items only.
I have a point of parliamentary procedure. Didn't we earlier have a superintendent's report on the agenda? What happened to that?
We took whatever
This was from last
from
year.
last year, so I don't recall. I was gonna just talk in new business.
Jim, did you want to talk about some things before this, or?
I was
was
speaking
one.
new
New
business.
business, I
business.
think that's what.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing a new business.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it was
That's
on
okay.
there. It was on
That's
there
okay.
last week.
Public comment regarding agenda items only. The following are a series of reorganization motions. All motions have been posted on the district website along with the reference list and attachments. At this point in the meeting, we will now conduct the first of two public comment sessions. The first session will be open for the public on agenda items only. The second will be at the end of the meeting and can be on any topic. Would anyone from the public like to make a comment on any agenda items only at this time? Ms. Conway,
Um,
do you have any?
So are we not having a superintendent's report? I didn't hear what you
We're
guys.
gonna have it in,
In
we're gonna have it
business.
in new
In
business.
new business.
Since it's not at the beginning of the agenda.
I
just do
realize,
it
but
now.
normally the public gets a chance
But
to
normally.
speak after he speaks,
Five
so.
Well,
Alright.
this is 5 minutes.
Would anybody in
Mary
the
Ann, is
public
there
like to
anybody on
make
the
a,
call that
make a
needs
comment or?
comment?
President
Comment?
Weinstein, there are no commenters in the queue.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Conway. Okay, for section 4 board as a whole. So I'm going to talk through a couple of topics here, right? I'm going to go through each one. And I think I'm going to just do the abbreviated version
Yeah.
here, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Move to approve designating Tina Truba, school business administrator, as a qualified purchasing agent as follows below. 4.2, move to approve as designating Tina Truba, school business administrator, as the public agency compliance officer as follows. 4.3, I'm going to read a little bit more on this one, okay? Move to approve the following resolution. Be resolved that in compliance with the guidelines of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws 1975, the Township of Ocean of Education hereby gives annual notice that until the next reorganization meeting, which will be held in the auditorium of the School District Administration Building virtually at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 3rd, or until further notice is given that. And below is the schedules of the meetings that will occur and the different discussions that will occur. 4.4, move to approve the following banks to be appointed as official depositories of school district funds for 2022, and that the funds withdrawal authorization is to be granted by signature of those persons heretofore elected, appointed, and or designated to the office of the Board of Education, office of Board President, Board Vice President, in the absence of the Board President, School Business Administrator / Board Secretary, Assistant School Business Administrator, and or Treasurer of the school monies, as listed below. 4.5. Move to approve the renewal and approval of all official Board of Education bylaws and policies of the Township of Ocean School District as per the detailed policies currently found in the Township of Ocean Official Policy Manual, which is on file and available for the public review and inspection in the District Administration Building, 163 Monmouth Road, Oakhurst, New Jersey, and on school district website, www.oceanschools.org. Okay. 4.6, move to approve the Board of Education adopt Robert's Rules of Order as the official parliamentary procedure manual to conduct Board of Education meetings for the 2022 year, except where modified by the bylaws and or policies. And finally, 4.7, move to approve the Board of Education does hereby designate the New Coaster and or Asbury Park Press as the official newspaper for public notices. The district website, www.oceanschools.org, will also carry all public notices.
Second.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Give me 1 minute.
I just
have
need to
discussion
see a copy of the
regarding-
bylaws.
Oh,
It's
it's a
a big-
big gigantic.
It's an enormous book.
I mean, yeah, I still need to see it though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, or, because I don't know what I'm approving.
May I?
Sure.
John, this is a sort of a blanket approval that we do every year of the
Okay.
policies and bylaws. And then if there's any changes that occur in policies and bylaws that occur throughout the year, that's brought to the board for, specific discussion.
So are we constantly reevaluating this,
Yeah.
this
Yes.
document and
Yes.
doing an ad hoc
Yes.
approval and removing old?
There's also updates. We use a company called Strauss Esme that anytime the law or the bylaws change for the state of New Jersey, they notify us and then we
Okay.
we adopt the policy.
I mean, we
So-
have the manual available if you want to
Oh,
come in and take a
absolutely.
look at it, but I mean, it's every policy.
It's only available in print.
It's online as
It's
well,
online
but
too.
it's
It is
online by
yeah.
individual policies.
Okay.
It's a lot of reading. Any other comments? I think Shawanda, did you have something that you wanted to comment on?
Yes, I just want to confirm, I believe it was, let me switch my screens, 4.3, that the policy regarding board member participation is suspended at least until, I believe, January 31st, presuming an extension is not provided January 11th by the governor's State of the State address, correct?
What you approved last.
Yeah, that's correct. Right.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I have one comment.
Yep.
So for the bylaw 0175, it was mentioned a few times that the heading and title does not correspond with the body. And that still hasn't been corrected, just to put that out there.
Okay, Sam, which policy is it? I'm sorry.
It's 0175, contracts with independent consultants. The body of it correlates to the president of the Board of Education roles and responsibilities.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
Any other comments by anybody on the board? No? Okay,
Take a roll call.
I think we
We're
can
good?
take a roll, yep.
Okay, so we're voting on 4.1 through 4.7. Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Dillman,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Ms. Palamas.
Yes.
Ms. Tellerico.
Yes, except for bylaw 0175.
Okay, hold on, just let me write that down. Okay, Ms. Tortorello,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, number 5, old business. Anybody have any old business they want to talk about?
I might have old business, but Dr. Svankwitz might actually address it, so if I
Okay.
may defer to after he goes.
Well, you can ask and I'll know if I'm going to address it.
You don't want to go first?
Well, the order is old business.
We're gonna
business.
go to new
so-
business anyway, so
Right.
so it doesn't matter.
All right, but when I'm in new business, nobody's gonna say, you should have said that in old business.
No, we're not, no,
Okay.
don't worry
All
about it.
right, as
Okay,
long as
so
that's,
now we're on to,
that's
okay to
fine.
move away from old business? Those remote? Okay, new business? Jim, why don't you start off with new business and then we can,
Let's start off with new
and
business.
then we can see where we.
Sounds
take
like a
it
good
from
idea.
there.
Okay. We're back in school today, which is a good thing after that monstrous blizzard that we had yesterday, at least in some parts of the state. So another wonderful forecast gone awry, but I was in all the buildings today and I was asking the kids and a number of them said how much fun they had playing in the snow yesterday. So, you know, as I say, imagination is a wonderful thing. So we like to foster that. So that's a good thing. But back in school today for at least our pre-K through 8, which was very good, very positive. I think overall it was a good day. You know, there are certainly going to be challenges that we will face as a result of COVID cases over the next several weeks. It's going to be a wild ride, but it was great to see kids back in, and we look forward to getting our high school students back in on Monday and resuming full schedule on Monday. We are on track for that, and that is absolutely our goal. It is always our goal to have our kids in person. It's been over a year, or it's right about a year since we've had to have a remote learning environment for one of our schools, and we don't like it. and we very much look forward to the kids returning on Monday, and when I speak of the high school. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of the scope of what we have been dealing with, and the numbers have been updated on our dashboard. But heading into winter break, we had a total of 288 COVID cases, staff and students, 288.
Active or total?
I'm sorry, I
Were
couldn't.
they
hear you.
active cases
Active
at
or
that
total?
moment or the total? from
Cases reported
September?
since the beginning of the school year,
Thank you.
288 through December 23rd. Since December 23rd, we've had 239. That's an 83% increase in the last 10 days in the number of confirmed positive COVID-19 cases. 177 of those 239 were reported to us after my letter went out Friday afternoon. So from late Friday through today. By the way, that doesn't include the 27 from the middle school that I received at about 6 o'clock tonight. So that'll be on tomorrow's report. That's 177 came to us over the course of the last 3 to 4 days. The volume is significant. And at the high school level, that's 83 of the 239 cases. 83 of the 239 cases, 71 of which were reported to us between late Friday and today. So just to give you an idea too, between where we are now and where we were a year ago. Because last year, a year ago, this was a very intense time. We have 161 positive COVID cases at the high school that's come to us in the last since the beginning of the school year. 161. Last year, at this time, we had 31 at the high school. That's at the high school. So just to give you an idea, last year at this time, we had 96 district-wide, 96. Today, we have 529 from the beginning of the school year till now. So that's what we're facing. It is an absolute significant challenge. And I will tell you that I think most school districts in a very similar boat. I saw a letter, I think, from Freehold Township yesterday that stated that they had about 200 and some odd, it's very similar, 200 and some odd cases reported to them over the spring break, over the winter break. So the volume is significant. A lot of kids out, a lot of kids quarantining. The one good thing, I mean, if there's a good thing here, that most of these cases, of course, occurred over the break. There was not a lot of contact tracing, at least within the schools. We're very hopeful that, some of these kids are actually back, which is good. They were, it was early in the break and they've done their quarantine, they've come back. But the vast majority are not, they'll be out. And, we very much hope that our parents follow our our rules, our guidelines, that if anybody is experiencing any symptoms at all of any illness, that they keep their kids home. It's critically important, especially because a lot of our kids have reported that many of their symptoms are mild. They're cold-like, they're, flu-like, mild flu-like. So I think there's sometimes this idea that, oh, it's only a cold or what have you, and that just doesn't bear anymore, So if you have any symptoms at all, stay home, contact your school nurse. We really recommend you get a test. I know it's hard to get tests right now. That's part of the problem. The tests, they're hard to find. It takes longer for the test results to get back. But the sacrifices that we make now will hopefully preserve our school year moving forward. I'm sure there's a lot of folks on here who want to talk about athletics. I get it. Believe me, I have a winter athlete. I understand it. We've worked very hard to keep our sports going. I'm very proud of the fact that all of our athletes have had seasons the last 2 years, last year, this year. But there's no doubt with that volume of cases that our athletic teams are in jeopardy. 1 or 2 cases on any of these teams will shut them down for weeks. So the hope here is that a few days, along with virtual instruction at the high school through the end of this week, will save and preserve the seasons for these kids. That is the motivation, that is the desire, and we feel confident that when hopefully we return on Saturday for athletics and Monday for instruction, that we can keep things moving and rolling. So that's where we are in terms of cases. I think you can see that it is very significant. I want to, if I may, I want to shout out to our nurses who I think I owe another winter break at some point this year because they didn't have one this last week. The central office team, the principals, they all get another winter break. And honestly, all of these 239 people probably didn't have too much of a winter break either. So it's a very challenging time. It's a tough time. We understand the hardships. We understand that, people aren't happy about a few days of suspended athletics. We get it. We understand that some people are upset about a week's worth of virtual for the high school. But I think you can see based on these cases and based on where we are, that this is done to be somewhat proactive in saving the full seasons for these kids, which is what's most important.
Can I jump in?
You sure can.
So first, I just want to say that, all the families that have people who are sick or, I hope you get better and I hope you're able to recover quickly. And I hope that, people are able to quarantine effectively. And, I know this also kind of impacts some emotional things that are going on in families and stuff, especially if people are in close quarters. So I hope you're able to deal through all that during these times. It's unfortunate that this happened at our winter break, because, coming back from the winter break was a tough kind of thing. And so I do want to say to Dr. Stefankowitz and the whole, and all the principals that were involved, I know that we spoke a lot over the holidays and how everybody was kind of at your call to have meetings, discussions, trying to think through options. And so I just want to commend those who kind of worked through this. Saying all that, I think I probably also want to just make sure that we're on the same page and understand, how do you think you're going to monitor this kind of going forward? Because I know that we've had a lot of, questions about how you want to, when things are going to come out and how that goes. And so I guess I just want to give you an opportunity to tell us how you want to inform us and how you want to go through that and, what the pace of that is, so that we can kind of just get that out in the air. I know that we were, some people like to get things earlier. Some people like to get notices later. I just want to, you go through your steps, and I want you to just, make sure we appreciate the steps you go through.
What do you mean notifications as to what?
When you're telling the rest of the families what the plan is, right? I mean, you have your process that you go through, right? You look at the data, you talk to your principals, you kind of go through all that process, right? So I don't want to rush that process. It's just that, we want to make sure that we're on the same page with you.
Yeah.
Of how that goes.
Well, I mean, I think, I think it's been very consistent and obviously we get information out as soon as we possibly can, when we have the information, when we can make the calls, when we're ready to make the calls that we're ready to make, I mean, obviously you want to give families as much notice as possible and to prepare as much as possible. We have been, I think, the letters that I've sent home for the last 2 weeks practically have been preparing people. Be prepared, get prepared. We very possibly could be moving to having to pivot to virtual learning. So be prepared for that. Make the arrangements now. In terms, so we've been saying that now consistently for several weeks. In terms of, I don't know if you're referring to yesterday or the day before or.
Well, I just know that one of the things that you're also cognizant of is not sending something out and then having to read.
Yeah, we did wind up. We don't like to do that, obviously, but we wound up doing that a little bit on Sunday when we moved to the closure for Monday, because as we've said many times, this is just a very fluid situation. And all weekend long, I mean, you can see how many of those cases were reported to us just in these last couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot changes from 12 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night. Forecast, Saturday night, there was no snowstorm. Sunday morning, there was a 6-inch snowstorm. Monday morning, there was no snowstorm, even though Monday morning, the forecast was still for this region to get up to 6 inches of snow, right? Didn't materialize. So, it's an imperfect science, it's you have to balance out I certainly respect people wanting to know and needing to know so they can make the plans that they need to make. But at the same time, I want to make sure I have all the information that I need to be able to provide the most informed call that can be made. So, I mean, that's always what it is, whether it's snow, whether it's, COVID, whether it's whatever, that's what we try to do. I mean, I certainly think, I don't think that we could have gotten anything out much earlier than we did yesterday. I really don't. I mean, there were many districts that made their announcements after us. So some who probably did before. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think we're ready to make our call when we're ready to make it based on the information we're gathering. And once again, we don't want to have to turn around an hour later if we can avoid it and say, oh, no, change our mind now,
Okay. So does anybody have any comments around new business? Thank you, by the way. Thanks.
Sure.
Question.
I think
Oh, I'm
Alex had her
sorry.
hand
Go
up
ahead, Alex.
first.
Go ahead.
Alex, you want
Sorry.
to go?
That's okay. I'm sure we all have a bunch of questions. Wondering if you could break down specifically the building numbers per students among students and staff. Also, can you tell us what your discussions with the Monmouth County Regional Health Commission were about why we close only one school, other districts, are doing different things. And if you could also get into the sports at the middle school allowance and why that's being okay, where their numbers are pretty horrendous as well. So, and possibly after your answers, I might have more questions. So
I'm sorry, the first one was breakdown by school.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, so since December 23rd, I have since December 23rd, I have that available to you. So since December 23rd, high school, 83 cases, 26 staff, 57 students.
26 staff,
26 staff, 57 students.
Okay.
Middle school, 42 as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, now more, but for these purposes, 42 cases, 11 staff, 31 students. OTES, 31 cases, 17 staff, 14 students. Wayside, 43 cases, 16 staff, 27 students. Wanamasa, 33 cases, 5 staff, 28 students. And there were 7 district people who would be considered district employees.
Could you just repeat for Dow Ave? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, Del Ave it's 31 total, 17 staff, 14 students. All right. So that's the breakdown by school. I'm sorry, what was the?
The reason why I'm asking about the Monmouth County Health Commission.
Oh, Monmouth County Health.
Yeah, it's
So
because
I spoke with Dave Henry, the director on Monday. They were closed Friday. And right now there's no doubt that the position of the Department of Education, the state and the Department of Health is for schools to be open. We know, as I said in my correspondence yesterday, that virtual learning is not ideal for the overwhelming majority of kids. And it is their position that schools should do everything possible to remain open. When I spoke, and he did not say this to me, so I guess it's a little bit of hearsay, but I'll say it anyway. And speaking to another superintendent whose district is covered by the Monmouth County Regional Health Commission, that superintendent told me that that she was told that by the commission that sort of their benchmark now is 50% of the students kind of being, which is an exorbitantly high number, which we may actually get to at some point at this rate. But point being that it takes a lot. It's a completely different mindset as where we were a year ago when we were in virtual this whole week last year with 31 cases at the high school, far fewer cases. So it's a completely different idea. The idea is absolutely to keep kids in school. So when you talk about our high school, from their perspective, what made the difference, not that the cases are not insignificant, they are extremely significant. I think we can see that, right? But when I explained to him that from a staffing perspective, we feel that it would be very difficult for us to provide proper supervision for the students, that was something that he felt would give us, because all along, remember, we need the okay. We can't just say we're going remote. We need that okay from the Health Commission. And that's what put him in that place. Prior to the conversation with the Monmouth County Regional Health Commission, our principals, we had a meeting, central office and principals in the morning. And it was absolutely belief of our elementary principals and Mr. Amato that they could open their buildings safely and cover their classes and provide appropriate first and foremost academics and secondly supervision. There was not even a doubt, knowing it was going to be a challenge. I mean, it wasn't easy in any of the schools. But at the high school, I think you can see that the numbers are such that it was far more. And on top of that, a number of our substitutes who are in our schools are also not able to come in at this time. So, so these are all the factors that go into it. And we know certainly if there's a group of students who are more self-directed and can be a little bit better on the computer for a time, for a day, for learning, it's high school students over younger students. Having younger students home presents an incredible hardship for parents who may have to take off to now be with their students. So it was an absolute feeling that our pre-K to 8 classes could meet and function and do well. And I think we saw that today. The decision to be early dismissal was one that we felt made sense from the standpoint of trying to limit exposures for this week in a time where coming off of the holidays, lunches, masks on off, there's a little less structure to things and more chances for exposure. And we felt that made good sense. We know very well that come Monday, we plan to be serving lunch and be back to a full day schedule. So, but to ease into that this week, we felt was smart and appropriate. And the athletic piece is in line. I mean, I think what our philosophy, look, we want kids to participate in athletics. We want kids to be in school. We're not trying to prevent that, right? But certainly our philosophy last year, when we went remote, and it was very clear at that time that if the students were not able to be in session for academics, which is the primary reason that they go to school, that it would be difficult and to justify how they could be participating in athletics as well if they're not in school for academics. And we did the only difference, if I may, just the only difference last year was when we kind of had a virtual snow day when we were closing for snow purposes, not because of health purposes. We did make an adjustment to that. But based on what I said in the beginning, with the number of cases and the volume of cases at the high school, it is very likely that the students involved in our athletic teams will have cases. It's just percentage-wise, it's very likely. If they were to come back this week, the shutdown more than likely would be far longer and more significant. So there's the hope that, once again, this week gets us to a better place for the.
No, I can't remember, but last year, did we close one? Did we ever close one school and keep the other schools open?
Yes.
And we kind of followed the same policy?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Has there been any discussion since you just most recently talked about middle school athletics? About the Department of Health guidance about testing athletes when you're in a red county, and then also only
we haven't. I mean, to be honest,
students?
this came out right at the end of December, and we've been so focused on just what school is going to be over the last couple of days. We haven't really had a chance to have in-depth conversation about it. But at this point, what I can absolutely say is that we are not in favor of prohibiting unvaccinated students from participating in athletics. I don't know if one district, and there was a lot of conversation when this came out a couple of days ago amongst superintendents in the county, there was not one who expressed any support in doing that. And, you know, at this time, there's just a lot going on with student testing right now, and it's very much in flux. Our situation with Rover Lab, we don't really have the ability right now to conduct in mass student testing. We have the student testing program that Rover Labs was supposed to initiate, we've been told is going to move to providing at-home tests to students. We have not been given any specific information on that. We were informed of that over the break, and we have not been given any specific information at this point on that.
And now I think Irene, why don't you go next?
Well, my question had to do with testing and what's doing with those labs. So they have not given any guidance as far as when they're going to provide these tests to all of our students?
Well, it's not all. It's not, and that's the other thing. It's not going to be all. It would be sort of a random group. Well, I can't say that because honestly, we have not been given when it was a situation when the Rover testing situation has changed. If you remember, they were coming in, they were providing a person who would come in and test our unvaccinated staff as per executive order. We also allowed any staff member, really we allowed any staff member who wanted to test. It was mandated for the unvaccinated, but any staff member who wanted to come and test with Rover could do it. So that was how it was being done. Right before break, I think the week right before break, it changed to a self-test. And I think I went over this with the board, right? So we give the materials out to individuals, they provide their sputum sample, and then they deliver it back, and then we send it off to the labs, we get the results. I can tell you that of the tests that were done on December 20th, the results came in after break. They're supposed to come back the next day. That is a product of just all the testing and everything going on over the last couple of weeks. It's been, you know, crazy. We got positives from people who were asymptomatic positives from that testing that we found out somewhere around the 28th or 29th of December who are in school that whole week. Right? I mean, it's just how it is. I'm sorry, let me just finish that question. So that's where the adult testing for Rover Labs is. On top of that, then we heard about the student. Now, the student testing was supposed to be random students based on those who want to opt into the program. That never came to be. We kept getting put off. Now we've been told we're going to provide home tests to give to students. We have no other guidance or direction on that at all at this time. Okay. The third part of the testing is that about 2 weeks ago, or just before break, Rover Labs sent supposedly to each school, but our middle school never received a shipment of rapid tests.
Yes.
90, I think each school received, once again, not the middle school, never arrived. And we've emailed them multiple times to say, hey, where's our shipment? And we still haven't received it. But each school received, I think, a box of 90 boxes, which each box contains 2 rapid tests. So we have those, and we will utilize those we had a situation today where an adult came down to our nurse's office and was not feeling great after they arrived at school, and we were able to provide them with an antigen test, right? But the issue with, and we can do that for students when that situation arises, we certainly don't have enough. I mean, that's less than 1,000 tests. We have 3,000 students, right? So we don't have enough to do this for everybody, and we have 700 staff members. The issue with an antigen test, of course, is that if you take it and you are positive, then you are positive. If you take an antigen test and you are symptomatic and you are negative, you still need to get a PCR test to confirm that you are negative. So there are some benefits to an antigen test in the moment, but a negative antigen test for a symptomatic individual does not prove that the person is COVID-free, right? So there are lots of challenges related to testing.
Okay. I think Natalie and then Grace Ann. I think you wanted to say something, Natalie?
Thanks. So Jim, thank you and to your team for working all weekend. I'm living the same life in my new job and it's horrible and we appreciate it.
It's been fun.
But my question is about the middle school specifically, and I guess a little bit the elementary school. So we have this learning loss grant to make up for all the time we were remote and not in school. And now we're back to having the kids in that after school grant program doing that program remote while sports can be held in school and those kids are hanging out in the hallways doing homework and eating in the hallways. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Good. Yeah, I mean, none of these are perfect and ideal situations. I mean, this is this week. This is this week. We feel, you know, I think we are very committed to being back, full sessions, everybody, Monday. You know, but I will say that I think we can all see what's going on around the state in terms of cases. As long as we have the ability to open up safely and conduct, you know, conduct our programs, we're going to do it. You know, what we're doing this week is really no different than when we went virtual last year. And we, you know, I get that it's a different time. I believe me, I completely understand.
We didn't have the learning loss grant last year, and I think that based on what you just said about the middle school, how many pieces did you say today? 26 more?
We're adding, yeah, we're gonna add 27 to this number.
There has to be planning and an expectation that we may not open Monday, and in that case, or we may still have half days Monday.
Yeah.
I have a problem that kids can be in school, eating in the hallways and doing homework, but the kids who have the learning loss program have to do that remote. Right. I have a problem.
Well, the only students who are staying behind right now
are
the students who are you know, are the athletes at the middle school. And they shouldn't be eating in the hallways. I mean, we'll look into all that.
The way I read the email is that we would find a place for them. So
they had,
but the after school thing was canceled now.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Let everybody else
Yeah.
talk.
Go ahead now.
I think that whether they're sitting in a cafeteria or in a classroom, we're doing half days so they don't eat in school.
Right. I mean, this is a limited number of kids, though. I mean, this is
I
not.
don't care. It's also a small number of kids for the grant program, right? So why are we letting those kids eat in school to have the benefit of their sports team, but the kids who need the learning loss grant are going to do that remote, which defeats the purpose of a learning loss grant for remote learning.
Yeah.
I'm fine if it's 4 days.
Yeah.
If we go beyond that, I think there needs to be.
Well, I agree with you. I think if we do wind up having to go beyond that, we're going to have to make, you know, we're going to have to make other plans. I mean, one of course, the challenges of having the kids who are in, I mean, remember, there's a lot of kids in the after school programs, and we wouldn't have that transportation to be able to take them home if they stay till 2:30. So that's one thing. I mean, the kids who stay for athletics stay and they get picked up, and that's, you know, that's a difference there.
Offer that to the kids. You know, why can't we offer?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, I think if we, I'm not saying that what we are doing this week couldn't be altered, or if we find ourselves in a similar situation down the line, we would have to find a way to alter it. Yeah. But you know, I mean,
from where I'm sitting, we're prioritizing middle school athletics over middle school after school programs.
Well, if we canceled the middle school, we didn't cancel the programs. I mean, they are going to run. But you're right. I mean, you know, the reality is that some things can run. Not that it's ideal in any way, but some things can run. You know, I mean, you can have a basketball meeting, but you can't have a basketball practice virtually, right? So
that makes sense, because we're saying you're going to run around inside a sweaty gym breathing on each other, but you can't have a few kids in a classroom masked doing instruction. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, but we're in school. I mean, you're focusing on the after school program. We are in school, operating school for kids and their academics.
School too.
Right, I understand.
I'm not talking about the school day. I'm talking about after school. Sports, academics. Sports are in school, unmasked, running around sweaty. Academics, learning loss, the kids who need it are home on a computer. Long term, that does not sit well with me at all.
It doesn't sit well with anyone. Agreed. We agree. We agree.
If we go beyond
40.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I think our goal is to absolutely not be at that place. I mean,
I hope so.
Jim,
Yeah.
you said that we were going to reassess. at the
oh yeah, I
end.
mean, we always are going to
Yeah.
adapt to situations. I mean, this is the situation this week. Look, we're back to a point where we
No,
can't
but-
say anything with great certainty,
Right,
right?
but I think you also don't want to wait. I don't want to be in a position 5 o'clock Friday wondering what we're doing for Monday. as a
Well,
parent.
it's,
So,
I mean, once again, we're gonna have to maintain certain levels of flexibility. Is absolutely our plan to open up Monday. And is absolutely our plan. Can I swear on a stack of, whatever book you want to put here that it would happen? I wish I could say I could, but, right now it's tough. But I will say this, that of the 50 some odd districts in Monmouth County, there's only one district that has more than one school in it. That has more than one school as part of the district. Being one school districts. Does that make sense?
No.
I think he's.
There are
getting
some
ready to
full
finish his
districts that are
sentence.
just
Yeah.
one school,
okay,
right? So like Rumsden Fairhaven High School is one district.
gotcha. Okay.
Red Bank Regional High School is one district.
Okay,
Those two schools are virtual for this week. They are one school districts. Little Silver is a 2-school district. So there's one district that is more than one school that went virtual. No other district, full district in Monmouth County, as of today, was all virtual. There were a couple smattering, Neptune Middle School, our high school, Allentown High School, couple, here and there
Yeah, that
type of
makes sense.
situations.
Our numbers are worse than theirs.
But
though.
every public school district in Monmouth County opened up. And most of them were full day, right? So, and I've spoken, and part of what I was doing yesterday too was there were some districts, many districts closed for snow yesterday, over, the vast majority. But there were some who didn't, and a few that didn't are districts our size, like us. I wanted to talk to their superintendents to see how their days went, see what challenges they faced, that kind of thing. And they're all facing significant challenges, every single one of them. So, but they got through their days. And right now, some of what we are doing, even though I will tell you, I was really very pleased with the level of instruction that was going on. And in terms of kid attendance today, it ran between 80 and 85%, depending on the school. I'm talking about through middle school, obviously, right? So it was good. It was overall a good day. It was a productive day, which was good, which I know is always a fear when you have a lot of craziness going on. Like, what kind of day is it going to be, right? But it was a good day. And I expect good days tomorrow and for the rest of the week. And I'm real excited that there's another snowstorm planned for Friday. I can't tell you how excited I am about that. So, there's all kinds of good
Natalie,
stuff.
do you want?
But I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. And I think if there was more of a long-term situation, we would have to work to evaluate that.
Grace Ann, did you want to say something?
Some of my questions already been answered, but I do have one. So what is the ratio of staff to students that's needed to keep this school open?
Well, I mean, it depends, I mean, there's a lot of factors. It's hard to give you an exact ratio for that. I mean, it's about coverage and being able to provide safe coverage and,
Okay.
So there's no protocol for that or policy or procedure or anything? I'm just wondering, because if half the staff is out, what do we do with all the kids?
Well, if half the staff is out, that would certainly be, half would certainly be, but it also depends on what staff, right? I mean, everybody serves a very important function within the school, but a support staff person being out is different than a teacher being out. A guidance counselor being out is different than a teacher being out. Not that it's not important, but the roles are different.
Yeah, and I think you're also looking for the principals to make that decision.
Right, I mean, right, exactly. Every single solitary day, the principals, make that decision. I mean, I've spoken to you folks about, we had Fridays in December that were very, December 17th was a very tough day, I mean, so.
Okay, good. Well, I want to make sure we have enough time to get to the people on the line here, so we don't want to drag this out more than this, right? So do you have any more questions?
I do, and I don't think
I
talking
have
about
one
student safety
more
and
too.
student health is dragging it on at all. But so I do have a couple more questions if that's all right. Can you talk about if we have checked into opening up a testing with the ones we have. We have what, 700 tests at home, or in-person tests? Why can't we have our staff that are available now? Because I know you said we have 700 staff, but a lot of them are out. Can we have that? Can you give those tests to some of our staff? And I also want to just mention the communication piece from this weekend. I think finding out about Monday rather late, I know we're supposed to be telling our parents to get ready to pivot, be on the ball, that anything can happen at any moment. I think parents have been extremely patient. We're all understanding. It's happening in our jobs as well. But I think we need a little bit more of a standardized process to inform parents and staff about what's going on, not only Sunday, but also Monday. So 2 things. Why can't we get those rapid tests out, give them to our people that need them?
Yeah, we're doing that.
Tomorrow to our staff.
If there's anyone who is in need of a rapid test, and that's right now, a symptomatic individual or someone who feels that, we're not in a position where we're just going to give them out to everybody. That's
If
not
we
gonna
have
happen.
700 of them though.
Yeah, that's not
that-
an effective use of that at this point.
I'm not saying give all 700 out tomorrow, and I don't even think we would if we even had
No,
700 staff.
No,
available
I
right now.
mean, real, that's, really the main use of those is to try to, if you have people who are symptom, because remember, once again, a negative result on a rapid test does not guarantee a person is negative. And if they're experiencing symptoms, they're still going to need a negative PCR to be able to be cleared to come back to work. So there's certainly a benefit to having the antigen tests, but they are not the most ideal situation. So giving them out to every staff member is not something that we are considering at all. If there is a person who is at home and can't get a test and needs a test, we can work to get them a test. Absolutely, we will do that. But once again, if they are symptomatic and they test negative, they're still going to need that PCR. So if they're waiting on a PCR, they're still waiting. It doesn't get them back to school earlier. So, there's a lot of factors. I know that it's hard. It's hard for the individual sitting at home. It's difficult to understand all of the complexities that go into making these decisions. But there are incredible complexities. And all of the things that we are talking about, the after-school programs, the athletic programs, the trying to, maintain good supervision and provide health and safety, and all those things are completely taken into consideration. And there's not one decision that is going to please everyone. You try to do what you think is best for your students. What is best for our students is to be in school. And we did that for the overwhelming majority of kids today and this week. We look forward to doing that far more on Monday.
Okay.
And as far as the timeliness, I really don't believe that a proper decision could have been out to the public much earlier than it was.
I just have 2 quick yes or no. I don't need anything more than yes or no. My first question is, you didn't know at 9 o'clock yesterday morning that you were the plan that you had.
Not at all.
Correct. My second question is, and this is, I don't know the answer to this. If a student or a staff member tests positive on an antigen at-home test, are we accepting that and not making them go for a PCR?
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
If I test positive.
If your antigen is
rapid-
positive, it's a positive.
Okay, I don't need to do PCR.
You don't need to do a PCR.
So that's why at home.
But yeah, and that's
also
where it's a
do the any-
benefit. But if it's negative, you still have to wait on it.
Right.
So,
I
yeah.
understand. I just wanted to know.
So there is benefit to it, and we will provide those to those individuals. Absolutely. I mean, we just got these, and once again, the middle
No, we
school
got
still
them like
doesn't
2
even
weeks
have them.
ago.
I'm sorry?
We got them like 2 weeks ago.
We got them,
Before
the
Christmas.
high school got them right before break. I want to say
we just
literally
got
right
them.
before break. I think the elementaries got them, once again, right before break. We were not going to give them out before break. That wasn't going to happen. I mean, that's not going to happen. Plus, they come in a box of 2. To give them out to everybody means literally going in, separating them, doing all that. That's a lot of resources and time and energy.
I'll volunteer to come in. I
Thank you,
mean,
we
that's a
appreciate
silly excuse to not give out tests, but
There was absolutely no benefit to giving out tests prior to break. None. Those tests are not for people
we
to
told
determine.
people to test before you came. This makes, okay.
Alex, those tests are not for people to go see if they can visit their families at Christmas or on New Year's. That's what.
Well, I
those-
think
those
that's
tests are for.
presumptive and
But when
that's
you,
not what
so
I'm
giving out
talking
those
about.
tests prior, there is a high likelihood that they're not going to be used for the purpose of, is it safe to return to school?
John, did you?
I just need a little clarity on why we didn't know until 9 o'clock yesterday about the decision to close. Is that was the answer?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What happened in the decision-making process that forced us to not know until 9 o'clock yesterday? Isn't that what you just?
No,
I
she
was-
asked.
No,
no.
what I was saying was, he didn't know at 9 o'clock and not tell anybody.
In the morning.
Right.
You're talking about 9 o'clock in the
No, I was
morning.
Saying like he held, I was asking, making sure he didn't hold on to a decision.
Yeah, he
For-
didn't
it was
make,
a fluid
the decision wasn't
all
made
day.
till like 4 o'clock. It wasn't like
Okay.
at
It
9
was
o'clock in the
based on-
morning.
Right. Okay.
Right, that was the
Okay.
context of that.
Well, but
Alright,
you
so
know, a decision's made, and you have to understand too, it's not a decision's made and there's a button that you push and everything happens. There's a lot of things that have to go into organizing it and arranging it.
Okay, so I just wanted to comment on that. So then with that, I think that it's important to state that I appreciate the administration's desire to make these decisions in an extremely fluid situation. I really do. I think a lot of us are forgetting or maybe have zero experience in doing so.
I think that's a real good point.
So it's not easy. That being said, all I ask from what I hear is that it is over communicated what is going on, which it seems to me from what I'm seeing as the newest elected member sitting here, that is happening. With that, again, understanding that this is the administration's decision, it is my fervent hope that we do everything that we can to adhere to what you were saying tonight, to try to get these kids all back to school, to have all activities going on, as long as we do not see anything come up in the near future that shows us that there is an apparent risk to our student body in doing so. So I just can't echo enough that
Yeah, I mean,
how much I appreciate the fluid decision making, because that is a very difficult thing to do.
yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously there's risk right now. There's a lot of cases. But what we do know, and we continue to know, is that the mitigation factors that we have in school do make a difference. You know, these cases did not come about. I will say this, the overwhelming majority of these cases did not come about because of what happened in school. They came about from what happened outside of school. And that's important. So being in school, for the most part, it has been, and we hope will continue to be, one of the safest places for our kids and our adults to be.
Can you go over some of the policies for parents to maybe hear it again about if you are awaiting a test in your house? There's rules for if you're vaccinated or if you're unvaccinated. If your student is in a house where either the student is unvaccinated or vaccinated and symptomatic and asymptomatic, there are rules about virtual and not. And then there's also rules about being marked absent. So could you go over those, please?
Sure. I mean, every situations are a little bit different. So I'll speak as a general rule that if there is a person, and it may depend on why you're waiting for a test, right? There are some healthcare workers who are tested weekly. Some of our staff members are tested weekly. They're not symptomatic, they get a test. So that would not be a situation where a person who might be waiting for a test would have to quarantine, because it's part of a weekly testing regimen if they're asymptomatic. If a person has been in, I mean, there's a lot of scenarios, so it's hard to go over, every one. But if you, as a rule, if you have a person in your house, like say there's a kid whose father was possibly exposed, and they're going to get a test to see if they're fine, but they're asymptomatic. if that child, if that person has not been, if that person is asymptomatic and has not been diagnosed with COVID, there's no reason for that child to stay home. And if they choose to stay home, they would not be offered virtual instruction because they are choosing to stay home. There's no medical reason for them to do so. If the person is symptomatic and waiting a test, but the child is vaccinated, again, they do not have to stay home. They may want to in that instance because you're dealing with a symptomatic person, but they do not have to stay home. And again, would not be offered remote instruction. If the child is unvaccinated and there's a symptomatic person in the house waiting a test, we would absolutely recommend that child stay home and that child would be offered remote instruction. As a general rule, that's the guideline, but we are, every situation should go through the nurse and they could answer a specific question.
I was fine with that a couple months ago, but now that Omicron is, making folks who are boosted and vaccinated positive, I think that's skewing things, unfortunately, for those who are vaccinated, who probably, should stay home because who knows? Possibly, yeah. If they're we are waiting. There's supposed to be, as we've been discussing, the CDC recently came out with new guidelines for quarantine, which honestly would present, I think, more of a challenge for us because it no longer allows vaccinated individuals to not quarantine. They would now have to quarantine. And certainly that would level the playing field from vaccinated to unvaccinated students. And we understand that. However, we would be quarantining far more kids and we would be quarantining far more adults, we would be quarantining adults now who do not have to quarantine. So we'll be taking more teachers out of the classroom. So those rules are going to present challenges. Now, the state of New Jersey, Department of Health, have not adopted those rules. So the same rules that have been applied. So Alex, to your point, there is supposed to be new guidance coming out related to that from the New Jersey Department of Health that's specific to K-12 schools. That it may change. And if it changes, we would evaluate those changes. And the answer that I just gave you could possibly change. But for now, those are the guidelines. And my last question will be, did we just suspend use of facilities? Are we doing that?
Yeah, we decided that for indoor facility use for the, we're hopeful for maybe the next, 2 to 3 weeks, not permanently at this point, just till maybe this wave kind of goes through at this rate. It should only be another week or two. And we feel that suspending that for right now is a good idea, with the hopes that we can get that back up and going, hopefully by the end of the month at the latest.
No scouts.
I'm sorry?
No scouts, no.
Yeah, any of those, Projects Extend, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was just talking to somebody today who was planning her scouting thing for tomorrow.
Scouts, it's not ideal, but, they can meet virtually. They can still do that.
And we've told them, we've called everybody.
Yeah, I think we're, yeah.
Okay.
The only thing we're allowing is outdoor soccer.
Yeah, outdoor, we're still doing.
Outdoor. Yep.
Outdoor.
The turf field. Yep.
And once again, we anticipate that will be hopefully a short-term suspension of that.
Okay, we're going to move on to public comment. So at this time, would anybody from the public like to make a comment on any item at this time? First, anybody sitting in the, sure, come on up and state your name and.
Need my address also with town?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Edward Horn, 1901 Logan Road. Dr. Stefanak, we just talked about athletics. That's actually why I was here tonight, because at first it didn't make sense to me. My son plays ice hockey. These kids are actually more social distance, as I tried to explain to the nurse 2 weeks ago, how hockey works. But if it prolongs more than Monday, I ask that you please reconsider shutting down sports. Mm-hmm. We talk about the mental health of our children. To watch my son's dejected face when he got the text from his coach, please let the athletic programs go. Mm-hmm. These kids, they need it. They have to shut school down, go remote. It's killing these kids. Mm-hmm. Just let them play their sports. They're halfway through. You got seniors. This is it. Ice hockey.
Mr. Horn, I have a senior who is an
Yeah.
athlete. I
Yeah.
understand exactly what you're saying.
Because I
And we are going to do,
explained to my
we're going to do everything we can to get
His
him back.
varsity letter says Stanley Cup. That's
I'm
it.
with you.
So.
I'm
thank
with you.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Any- Sure.
Hi, I'm Helena Coles. I live at One Click Court, Ocean Township. I just wanted to know I know you're talking a lot about the number of cases. Obviously, there's lines down the block. Everybody's testing because everybody's panicking. So those case numbers obviously are going to go up because a year ago, people weren't testing like this. Right. So my question is, at the high school, how many people, staff and students total are there at the high school? Approximately.
About
Doesn't have to be
1,200.
exact. About 1,200.
Yeah.
And so we have 200 and what do we have here? 288 total cases. How many were at the high
That's
school?
district wide. That's not.
Right. How many were at the high school?
Total
83
right now for the high school for the year is 161.
for the year.
For the year.
Okay.
83 active.
And right now,
83, right now,
83.
83, yeah.
okay, so the percentage on that is less than 1% of the entire school.
No, it's 10%.
Excuse me?
10%.
At 1,200.
Mhm.
And you have
But just shy of 12%, 10%.
10%.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm wrong on that one. Okay. Laugh.
No, it's okay.
Everybody cracked. Okay, so let's see here. And as far as the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, I'm just asking you because the percentage of people that are vaccinated getting the Omicron virus seems to be pretty equal from everything I'm reading, I don't know about you, to the unvaccinated.
Yeah. The last statistics that I just saw that the governor put out yesterday was for the week of December 13th. So it's a little dated, but it's around a 73 unvaccinated percent to about 27. That's for the week of December 13th. So obviously new data may show something different, but
Okay.
that was the last data I saw.
Okay, well, there's a lot of different data sites, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just saying what the governor put
Yeah.
out yesterday.
The governor, okay. All right, are you guys gonna adopt the 5-day rule that the CDC came out with? For
Once
the,
again, that we're waiting
quarantine?
for guidance from the New Jersey Department of Health because the 5-day rule really was not intended for schools because it requires to not have to quarantine, it requires a booster. And there are many kids who obviously are not eligible for boosters or or some are not eligible for vaccination. There's a lot of factors. So I think that's one of the main reasons why the Department of Health has not adopted those rules for schools.
Mhm.
And that guidance is forthcoming.
Okay, all right, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jeff, I don't know if you saw, but the people at home that had their hands up before we went to the public comment,
Yeah, we do people here first, and then we're gonna go to Ms.
No, I mean-
Conway.
the board members.
Oh, they're board members.
I don't know if Shawanda did, but I saw Grace Ann did.
I had one extra question before I was cut off. I can wait, but I still have the question.
Okay, what's the question, Grace Ann? Yep.
My question was about the attendance policy. Are we having or making any, giving leeway for kids with the attendance and attendance probation? Like, where do we stand on that? Because, there are some kids that, because of everything that's going on, may have absences. And I was just wondering if there's going to be leeway, because I know that if there's 10 absences, you can lose credit for the semester in high school. So I'm just asking about attendance.
Yeah, I think since the start of the pandemic, we have tried to be as flexible as possible, and I'm sure we will continue to do that. I think obviously you want to try to document absences. You want to try to have, if there's a medical reason why people are out or whatever it may be, you want to try to have as much documentation as possible. But we are, I think, being extremely flexible with many things beyond attendance. But we attendance is important, but we are certainly trying to be as flexible as possible. Yes.
So if there's a medical reason for a child to be out of school, how is that handled? Just so I understand.
Well,
is it counted as an absence or is it counted differently?
There's two designations. Yes, if you have a medical reason if you're absent from school, you're absent from school. If you don't attend, if you're approved to be virtual and you're virtual, then you're not absent. You're a remote learner. You're not marked absent. If you are not present in school physically, or if you are a designated remote learner and you do not attend remotely, then you are marked absent. The absence is designated in two areas. It's one that this is how the state designates it. Absent that leads towards truancy, absent that does not lead towards truancy. The old adage of excused absence versus non-excused absence is no longer in use. That's been now for several years. And if a medical reason is provided, then that is an absence not leading towards truancy. And that's how that is designated. But an absence is still an absence, and all absences count toward at the high school 10 per semester, or at the other schools 20 per year.
So just so I'm clear, if you have one or say a few that are medical excuse and they're not leading towards truancy, if you have 10, you still lose the credit. And there's not going to be leeway on that.
I think there's a process that the schools have. They typically have an attendance team that evaluates those situations. I think if there's a specific question or concern that you have that, or a parent has, they could bring it up to the attendance office at their specific school. I mean, at the high school or the middle school, I would say, the attendance office, and at the elementary schools, I contact the principal.
Okay, thanks. Shawanda, I'm sorry if I missed the question from you. Did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So Ms. Conway, let's go back to public comment. Do you have anybody that's remote that would like to ask a question?
Yes, President Weinstein, I have two commenters. The first commenter would like either myself or someone to read the comment. Mr. Eric Whitehead, 2000 Linden Street. Would you like me to go ahead and read his question?
Sure.
Okay. My sons are students at OTES. Today we received an email that the after-school reading club was canceled. This program was set to start on Monday. I am wondering why. Hold on. I'm wondering why, if we are hoping to be back to full-time instruction on Monday, why this enrichment program was canceled, along with other programs such as Accelerating Spartans. These are programs that our children look forward to and that provide academic and emotional benefits. Also, the children are all gathering in the gym at the end of the day for dismissal. How can this be allowed, but not a small learning group of math students?
Thank you. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, the after school programs are impacted by transportation at the end of the day. So, that's why it's very difficult to run the after school programs. As I said, we're looking forward to a very short term, situation here. And we very much anticipate to be back on Monday.
Okay. Ms. Conley, do you have anybody else that would like to make a comment?
Yes. President Weinstein. One more commenter, Sandy Abdelaziz.
Okay. Okay, Sandy. Are you there?
Sandy, please go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't have the unmute button. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Can you hear?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay, great. First off, I just wanted Dr. Stefankowitz to just reiterate, I must have missed it, or it was just in the middle of a whole bunch of things that were discussed. I don't understand why the intermediate school sports can still continue when we are concerned about their numbers. Everybody's numbers are really bad right now. And, it doesn't seem right that, our high schoolers can't be in their sports, but the middle schoolers can.
The philosophy that goes back to last year, Sandy, was that if the schools are in person, then the athletics and other after school, programs continue as in some capacity, whether it be, virtual or in person. If the school overall is remote for their daytime academics, then typically the after school programs move in that direction as well. The athletic programs this week could certainly meet team meetings virtually. There's things that they certainly could do this week to plan for future opponents, scout future opponents, what have you. It's just the physical practicing in that. But from what I understand, I spoke to Mr. Todd today. He's working very hard to reschedule all those games that were missed this week, and practices we anticipate will begin once again on Saturday.
So the hopes are we won't have to take forfeits on anything.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case.
Good, because the girls bowling team's in first place. Come on.
Well, of course they're in first place. They're always in first place.
Okay.
We're gonna get them back there real soon.
Okay, my second comment is kind of it's like I don't even know how to word it, but Dr. Stefankowitz, your letter stated that due to significant staff shortages at OTHS, it would be going remote. You only reported 26, which I don't think is a significant amount. But anyway, I don't know. I guess it was just in the wording.
It's significant, Sandy.
I know.
Considering there's about another 10 to 15 waiting on tests and who are out. So
no, I guess
that's only confirmed COVID cases. So yeah. It's significant, trust me.
I know. I guess it's just the wording, because Mrs. Kasuba's letter just seems so much nicer. She just said due to
she's a much nicer person than Sandy.
I know, but it feels like you kind of threw the staff under the bus on that, and it kind of just, I didn't want to cause an uproar with people. Thank God there wasn't any backlash.
When the staff thinks I throw them under the bus, I hear about it, and I haven't heard about it. So I feel like I'm not sure that that's the way it went, but we'll see. Everything is discussed with. I'm not. Look, the reality is this. We are what that is the reality. Our staffing shortages is the situation. There's no judgment. There's no anything. COVID is hitting everyone, and there's no our staff did all the wrong things over the break, and so now we have to go remote. There's none of that. That's not the case. That's not the situation. There's a lot of COVID. There's a lot of circumstances, and our staff is being impacted like every other profession is being impacted, and that's the reality.
Right. And you know what I heard, I do want to give a shout out to the whole administration and all the nurses, but I'd also like to give a shout out to all the teachers and staff, because I have friends that are teachers, and, they wrote plans for, early dismissal Monday. They wrote plans for being off Monday, and then they had to pivot and make plans for being half day remote. It's just been, it's been a horrible, I would hate to end my winter break that way personally, but I just want to give a shout out to all of them. And Dr. Stefankowitz, I don't envy you having to make these decisions either. Like that's a tough call. And to be honest with you, for Monday's storm, I did see a weather reporter on Facebook say he was apologizing to Central Jersey for his incorrect diagnosis or incorrect prediction of what was happening.
Around 11 o'clock, it did start to snow a little bit here in Ocean Township. I think we got a trace officially.
Yeah, but thank you, and have a good night.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else, Ms. Conway?
Oh, by the way, for the Monday morning, many of the districts that closed for snow closed at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we made a call the night before, so we were kind of out in front of that one.
You're trying to be a part-time meteorologist.
Yeah, well, Jim Cantor, he's my guy.
Anyone else, Ms. Conway?
Mr. Whitehead had a follow-up. Shall I read that as well?
Sure.
Sorry, but can you please ask Dr. Stefankowitz why transportation would be an issue at this time for after-school programs?
Because the way the runs are, and then you're kind of at the end of the day. And I will tell you that our bus fleet is also very diminished at the moment. So this week, it would be very difficult to be able to provide that transportation as well.
Thank you, Ms. Conway. Thanks for reading that. Anyone else?
Mr. Paul Tracy apparently has a question. I'm trying to, maybe I can put him on.
Sure.
Hold on.
If you can locate him.
Please go ahead, Mr. Tracy.
Yes, good evening. I'm sorry. Dr. Stegbanovich, I'm sorry. I just had a question. Last year, we were remote and we continued to play the after-school activities. And I just hope we can still do that this year if you do decide to go remote. And also, I just got another question. Earlier, I heard you say if 1 or 2 kids tested positive in any sport, you're going to shut down the whole team for several weeks.
No. I said that you could have a situation where that could shut down a team. I am not in any way saying that would shut down a team. I'm saying.
Okay, then I totally misunderstood.
That's okay. But obviously in certain scenarios, depending on the situation, it could lead to, most recently, it's my understanding that wrestling kind of had to go through a little hiatus because there was some cases on the team prior to the break. So I understand too, wrestling has been hit a little bit harder here, and this doesn't, this week doesn't help that. So I certainly understand that.
Right.
But
also, I understand. But now if we go virtual and the state still allows all teams to participate, are we still going to be able to participate
I'm starting to feel that we're never, ever going virtual again, regardless of the situation. That's kind of where I'm feeling right now. So,
well, I hope so, but we don't know, like you said.
Yeah, no, look, I think what we have to do is evaluate the situations for the circumstances that are happening at that time and at that moment. Okay. And right now, what we have is, I can tell you that I'm hoping that what we are seeing right now is the worst of what we're going to see. I think we're all hoping that, right? So if this is the worst we're going to see, and then hopefully that we're going to be able to keep things operating from here on out. But if there's suddenly 50 and 60,000 cases a day, it's hard to predict or determine what exactly we would do in that situation. I think we'd have to evaluate it at the time.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, Ms. Conway, anyone else?
No, President Weinstein, there are no more commenters in the queue.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully this week turns out to be better than this past week, right? And we get back to normal starting Monday. And everybody stay safe and sound and be healthy, okay? All right, with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, second.
Okay, adjourned.